Adam Sandler, a titan of comedy, or as some would say, an overrated schmuck who got lucky. I mean, luck certainly has to do with it, but he has a unique charm and personality. After his stint on SNL in the 90s, he started to have a movie every single year. Some of them were not nearly as successful, but they became revered classics later on. But as the filmmaking continued, he gained more traction. I remember him a lot as a kid. It seemed like we saw almost every one of his movies. I remember seeing Mr. Deeds, then Anger Management, then The Longest Yard, and Click. It was a big deal to go see Adam Sandler in theaters. One of his earliest hits was Big Daddy, the 1999 Columbia film that starred Sandler himself, Leslie Mann, Jon Stewart, and a young Dylan and Cole Sprouse, right before they had the big hit on Disney Channel with The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. This was one that I loved as a child. I mean, it was a bit of a fantasy. Imagine being a young Julian, getting basically the coolest, funniest dad on the entire planet. Nowadays, it doesn't really have the same effect on me. In fact, it's a bit creepier if you really start to think about it. I was pretty fearful to give this another watch. It's been a couple years since I've seen it, but, I used to have it on repeat constantly. Essentially, Adam Sandler plays Sonny, an irresponsible loser. After graduating law school, he never kept up with any practice, while the rest of his friends move on with their lives. He lives with Jon Stewart's character, Kevin Garrity, who's going on a trip to China, leaving their massive apartment in the hands of Sonny. I have to say, for taking place in New York and about recent law school graduates, this apartment is freaking massive, and it's like the coolest place ever. I remember watching this as a kid and thinking, man, if I ever ended up in New York, I definitely have to get this place to live in. I mean, look at it. I can't really describe it, but it has a bit of an open floor plan, urban look to it. And it's gigantic. I mean, even in 1999, that seemed pretty impossible for anybody to afford. I don't care if the place isn't too clean or up to date. That place is huge. It would be the priciest place in New York, and I want to live there. I mean, it's bigger than my house. One day, Julian is dropped off at the apartment by Child Services, claiming to be the son of Kevin, Sonny's roommate. While Kevin is away, Sonny decides to take up childcare duties, as he's received the child on Columbus Day, so Child Services is closed. So, what's crazier here? The fact that there is a holiday celebrating someone as awful and boring as Columbus, or the fact that Child Services would just drop off this kid at some random apartment without any proof of Kevin being the father? I mean, we're really only trusting the notion of a dying mother here. We don't really have anything that shows he is the father, and even then, when they drop him off, they don't really have him sign anything. There's not any confirmation that he even lives there. They could just be dropping him off at any psycho's house, or even then, it could be someone who's gonna pretend to be the father, just like Adam Sandler does exactly. Look, I'm not sure how Child Services handles things, but I'm pretty sure there'd be more done than this. Anyways, Sonny pretty much pretends to be Kevin to hold on to the kid, fearing that Child Services won't find a suitable family for him in the future. So in a way, that's creepy. We're meant to see Sonny as the good guy, but in any other circumstance, we'd be throwing this guy in jail for kidnapping, plus other crimes we may not even know about. There is a court case at the end of the film about custody, rather than Sonny's false impersonation. Seems like the only one with any sense is the judge, who actually tries to imprison him. With all that out of the way, Sonny is a good guy, for the kind of cliché character Sandler usually plays. He's not too mean-spirited, plays things straight, has a lovable heart, and a lot of interaction with the side characters. My favorite part of any Happy Madison production is when the smallest side characters end up showing up numerous times. I think it's really funny. It gives a lot of personality to the characters that you would normally put in the background and not think much about. In this one, we have Sonny's friends, the homeless guy, the old guy at the bar, the ex-girlfriend, and the ex-girlfriend's new, older boyfriend, and there's a lot of funny back and forth, even if it's not the most quotable comedy. Rob Schneider plays Nazo, a food delivery man who comes from an unidentified country. This isn't the first time that Rob Schneider would play a different nationality, which is not okay at all, and it isn't funny. Except, I think this is the first time we aren't told where he comes from. He's definitely not originally from America, and certainly has some level of racist glamorous makeup going on, but I can't even figure out what he's mocking exactly. Maybe something from the Middle Eastern territory, possibly, but we're never told. In any case, it doesn't feel appropriate. It's not appropriate. Let's move on. The Sprouse twins were never my favorite child actors, even as a kid. I always thought they were overdoing it on the Disney show, but in the case of Big Daddy, they're young enough to still come across as cute. They have a voice and a look that's undeniably sweet, so I'm sure that's what helped get this movie over $200 million worldwide. He's a bit gross and random, like a lot of children, so major props for showing the difficulty of handling someone that age, and how there's bound to be some kind of trouble. The relationship with Sonny is believable, as he's kind of the favorite uncle trope, and as someone who's a bit nostalgic for the late 90s and early 2000s era, this is filled with the iconography and look of that period. They go to a McDonald's that has all the old school logos, and it famously points out that breakfast actually ends at 10:30, not 11. I've heard more than one person cite this movie as their reason for why they know when the McDonald's breakfast ends. You know, when I have my numerous conversations with people about fast food and breakfast. And that kangaroo song. I always thought it was a legit VHS tape, because there were certainly thousands of things just like this that existed. Barney, Dr. Looney's Remedy, The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth. I figured this kangaroo thing probably existed somewhere, but I guess he's actually portrayed by Tim Herlihy, who's the screenwriter for Big Daddy and many other Sandler flicks. I wonder if more footage of this exists somewhere. Was it actually put on a VHS tape? If anything, waiting years to return to this has given me time to age and realize that so much of this doesn't really make sense, but in the end, it's supposed to be a vehicle for Sandler to interact with an adorable child. It's doing the same thing that Cop and a Half, Kindergarten Cop, or even Three Men and a Baby was doing. It gives a cute little kid to a well-known actor. It works because Sandler is just that enjoyable, to me anyway. It's a matter of preference, but if you like Sandler for his charm, you'd probably enjoy this. It's not nearly as funny as I remember, but it gets me reminiscent about my younger self, and it's one of those movies that I think you have to watch on a late night where you're just trying to relax and not use your brain too much. It's a popcorn comedy that gets the job done. Special thanks to Anthony for this Patreon request. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Anthony, Anna, Lukas, NolanCho, Ryan, and Robert for the support on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive videos and blogs, and for only $7, you can request your own movie review. I hope you stick around, cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.